Welcome to the Fantasy Bros Podcast, a new podcast where two brothers talk about fantasy football. Da-na-na-na-na, da-na-na-na-na, Fantasy Bros! This is your host, Dylan Wagella, and I am here with my co-host, Mitchell Wagella. Hello. Okay, no special introduction for Mitchell this week, I suppose. Well, I just want to say thanks for listening. For those of you that have, we are currently up to three subscribers on YouTube. Make sure that you subscribe on YouTube. We are also available on Apple Podcasts, Podcast Addict, and SoundCloud. If you're looking for us on Apple Podcasts or Podcast Addict, you might want to look under the Split Six Media. That is who is producing us. Okay, thanks for the feedback as well. Quick announcement, we do have an email address, thefantasyfootballbrothers@gmail.com. Send us some questions or your team, and we'll evaluate them. Also, check out our Facebook page, The Fantasy Football Bros. Like it, share it, invite to it. Today we have a special guest. Jeff Wagella is in our house, one of our brothers.
Hey everybody, glad to be here, glad to be part of this, and I've officially said more than Mitchell.
So let's start off with some news. Let's jump right into it. Ryan Tannehill is injured. The question, and still, I don't think they've come up, and someone correct me if I'm wrong. It looks like he's going to be out for the year, but I don't know if that has been confirmed yet. New signing is Jay Cutler. Your thoughts on this, Mitchell?
I'm just going to assume that he's going to be out for the year. I think they're going to opt to do the surgery. They didn't sign Jay Cutler for no reason. So I think Jay Cutler's going to be the starting quarterback. And, there could be some potential there, but probably not.
I totally agree. Jay Cutler, Ryan Tannehill, or hell, even throw Matt Moore into there. Does it matter at all? I mean, those guys are not winning more than 6 or 7 games at the most, regardless.
So my question to you guys is, do you guys think that this helps, hurts, or even changes the fantasy outcome for, Jarvis Landry, Jay Ajayi, and Devontae Parker?
Honestly, I think it might help them slightly in a way. I don't think Jay Cutler's any good, but I think that the Dolphins have some good pieces, and if he can figure out a way to just be somewhat productive, then I think it'll actually help them out more. I don't think Tannehill is very good.
Oh, absolutely not. Tannehill's not that good. I don't know who's better, him or Jay Cutler. I will say, if one person I'm giving a bump, well, there's two. I'm going to give a bump on my rankings to Jay Ajayi. I think this will lead to more carries and an already heavy offense for him. And also, maybe even to sleeper status, but we'll talk more about this later, is Julius Thomas. And Jay Cutler seems to have a tendency to just love to throw to the tight end and rely on it. Jeff, any thoughts?
I can't see how having Jay Cutler or Ryan Tannehill or Matt Moore, whoever it is, makes that significant of a difference. Look, he's, obviously their situation is better than anything the New York Jets are throwing out there. So, he's going to have some sort of impact. But it could be Tannehill or Cutler. Honestly, I'm probably going to value all their players pretty much the same. We know that both of those guys are boom or bust, really more average to below average most of the time.
Yeah, I agree with that, but I think the only thing that really changes is just long ball. I don't think Tannehill had the greatest arm when it came to throwing the long ball, and Jay Cutler can throw a bomb. We know that. It's not necessarily going to be on target or not an interception 80% of the time. But
so does that give you a slight, though he's probably not on your rankings, does that give you a slight bump to Kenny Stills then? He's a deep ball guy.
I'd probably keep him right where he's at. I'd focus more on the long balls to the two guys on the outside, Parker and Landry.
Either way, you don't draft Kenny Stills, right?
No, you don't draft Kenny Stills. Maybe 13th round, right before you start picking up a kicker in a defense, he might be that guy you take that shot on, but that's about it.
So if we're looking at the stats here, last year, Ryan Tannehill in fantasy points was a top 12 quarterback 38.5% of the time. And Jay Cutler was a top 12 quarterback 0% of the time.
Whoa.
So, granted, he was playing for the Bears and he got injured, I believe, right?
He only played 4 games.
So during those 4 games, he didn't rank in there. The next news, and this is kind of some cool news for us. I'm sure most of us at this table like this guy. Anquan Boldin is going to be on the Bills, and it is said that he will play the slots, meaning that Sammy Watkins and Zay Jones is what it looks like will be the outside receivers. Any fantasy value for Anquan Boldin, Jeff?
Can I make a bold prediction?
Yeah.
Sammy Watkins gets hurt. Anquan Boldin's their number 1 receiver by week 3.
That's a funny prediction. I like it.
Has Sammy ever been healthy for more than 14 minutes?
No, I don't know. Not really. I think Zay Jones is the real deal. I actually just drafted him last weekend in Dynasty draft. I don't know, but I don't know Anquan Boldin's possession. He's good in the red zone. I think this is definitely a step up for the Bills and Tyrod Taylor. Mitchell, thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I think he could be worth some late round value. I don't think he'll be the number 1 just because he's getting old. He can't keep being a number 1 wide receiver at this point. I think somebody else will emerge if Sammy does get hurt, but I think he's worth a late round target, maybe.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it's ludicrous at all, though. That's not a ludicrous bold prediction. Boldin's good. I'm not sure why he still wants to play, and especially for the Bills. But the guy must love football. Interesting one. This one kind of relates to one of me and Mitchell's slap bets. Leonard Fournette and Chris Ivory are expected to start the season splitting carries. And T.J. Yeldon is also getting some praise from the coaches. Mitchell, are you worried about your slap bet?
No, not really. For one, we're going to have probably like 45 slap bets by the end of the year, and we're going to have to tally them all up. So if I lose one, it's not that big of a deal. But secondly, they're going to give him the ball. It's going to be him. He's going to be a workhorse. They took him number 4 overall. They're not going to split carries.
Jeff, what do you think about this? Do you think it's just smoke and mirrors, or do you think there's some value to it?
No, I agree with Mitchell. You don't draft a running back number 4 overall, a guy that probably could have gone to the NFL after high school. I mean, he had the physical form for it. The guy's going to be your workhorse. He's going to get the ball. He's going to get the goal line carries. You don't have to worry about him getting, somebody vulturing his touchdowns. I think ultimately what the Jaguars are really hoping for here is that Ivory and or Yeldon actually does put together a few good games and some yards, and maybe by week 6, week 7 have some trade value so they can maybe get a 4th or a 5th round pick or something like that, because there's really, with Fournette and Ivory, there's really no need for Yeldon.
Right, and I think part of it, too, might be, like, they're paying Ivory a lot of money right now, and when you invest that much money into someone, sometimes you just kind of want to play them more. I mean, the goal line thing makes sense. Fournette's younger, he's bigger, not by much. I think it's something like 5 to 10 pounds, but he's younger and he's bigger. I wouldn't be worried about that. The next thing is Andrew Luck might not be ready for the opener and could potentially be on the PUP list. Is this a big concern? So I guess my question is, what happens to your rankings of your wide receivers in terms of T.Y. Hilton and maybe running backs Frank Gore if Luck is not there for the first 6 weeks?
So, go ahead.
If Luck isn't there, I mean, who's their backup?
I am not even sure.
I don't know either, and I think that's probably the key point. I know there was rumors that maybe they were, playing with the whole Colin Kaepernick thing. Who knows if that's true or not as a backup? We don't know what the status of Luck is, but T.Y. Hilton is definitely boom or bust, even with Luck. I mean, probably a little more average to above average, but if Luck's not there, T.Y. Hilton gets moved way down in the rankings.
Oh,
and
sure.
Frank Gore shouldn't be that high anyway. I mean, Father Time's got to catch up to that guy at some point, right?
People have been saying this for the last,
eventually it's going to
years.
Happen. Eventually it has to.
I think Frank Gore is going to have a good year still. Until that guy retires, he's just a monster. Scott Tolzien is their backup. I think that's how you say his name.
Tolzien from Wisconsin.
Yeah. I don't know anything about the guy. I think it could potentially help Gore, maybe run the ball more, but you could stack the deck or stack the box. And I don't know. If Luck's not there, they're in some trouble, but I don't think they'll put him on the PUP anyway, because if he can come back week 4 instead of week 6, that could save their season. Next set of news. Mixon with the Bengals is listed as the 3rd running back on their depth chart behind Gio and Jeremy Hill. Thought that was kind of interesting. What is Lewis thinking?
I mean, I think it's expected. He's a rookie running back coming in with competition, so I'm not saying that he was expected to be third in the depth chart, but to be listed as third this early is not that big of a thing. I think that could easily change, and he could see a significant amount of carries right out the gate.
Jeff?
Make him earn it. I think that's exactly what he's doing. Hey, rookie, we took you high. We have high expectations for you, but you're going to earn your playing time. This is the NFL. Jeremy Hill and Gio have both proven themselves, although they might not be elite. They're definitely both above serviceable, and they provide different, benefits based on their styles of running. So Mixon's got to go take a job. He's not just going to be given.
The last bit of news that we have here is going to be that Quincy Enunwa is out for the season. Not sure if that even affects your fantasy drafts anyway, but that leaves Robbie Anderson and Jalen Marshall as the top wide receivers there. Any kind of sleeper value for those receivers, or are you just staying away from that team in general?
I mean, there definitely can be value there. You can't. It's pretty hard to predict a sleeper. Especially coming off like the worst team in the league, which they definitely will be by far, in my opinion. Like I think the Browns will be a significant step up from the Jets.
It's like purposeful. They're doing this on purpose.
I may not be the best fantasy player, but my advice will always be this: stay away from the Jets, just altogether.
Says the guy who's drafted Matt Forte. I'm pretty sure Chris Ivory at times.
Okay,
I've seen you draft.
Let me clarify. Go ahead and let me clarify. Stay away from the Jets this year. Chris Ivory, the year I drafted him, 10 plus touchdowns, 1,000 yards. Matt Forte, the year I drafted him, probably close to 1,000 yards and a decent amount of touchdowns. It was a good.
That was last year, wasn't it?
Yeah, last year.
Let's look at his numbers. Jeff, what are your thoughts on that?
All right, so I got two thoughts that go together on this. You know how what happens every year when the last team in the NFL that's undefeated loses a game? Every year ESPN makes a big deal of this.
Yeah, well, they celebrate, right?
Well, the 1972 Dolphins pop champagne because they're still the only team that's ever gone undefeated and won a title, right?
Yeah.
What's going to happen this year? The 2008 Detroit Lions are going to have company. The Jets are not winning a game. They might not score 20 points in any game this year with as bad as their offense is. They're done. Don't take anybody on their team. Nobody has any value. Maybe their defense might be okay. They got a lot of decent defensive players. So if you're looking for maybe a sleeper defense or something like that, their offense is horrendous.
So see, I disagree with these guys in the fact that I think even on bad teams, which is one reason I'm pretty high on Pierre Garçon, there's going to be one player that is going to get a ton of volume and targets, which is something you want in fantasy football. I could not tell you if that's going to be Robbie Anderson or that's going to be Jalen Marshall or someone we've never even heard of.
But I think that's the point. You can't even come close to predicting to who the star coming out of the Jets is going to be. I mean, you could think of a sleeper in Hackenberg, but if you've read anything about the guy, just doesn't know how to professionally play football.
No, he didn't know where to line up under the center the other day.
They said I read something that said Christian Hackenberg benched for not breaking huddle properly.
Well, the thing is, and that may be the case, and then maybe they'll be atrocious, but they're still going to have to throw passes. They still get 3 downs, every once in a while to do something. And I think that I'm saying, like, if I'm throwing like a 13th round out of a 15-round draft pick, and I'm deciding between someone I know is just a handcuff or someone who has potential risk reward, like if I'm picking between Kenny Stills and Robbie Anderson, I'm probably going to pick Robbie Anderson. Hopefully your league isn't that deep to where you have that decision, but I don't know. I think there is some value there.
Here's your fantasy advice for the New York Jets. Take the defense that's playing against their horrific offense. You're probably going to have a good week.
Yeah, that would be a nice streamer option. Just so little update here on the Matt Forte. I was looking. Matt Forte had 800 or so rushing yards last year, maybe 200 receiving. So that's 1,000 yards. What were his touchdown totals?
7. He had 7 touchdowns.
7 touchdowns. That's not a great fantasy season.
So it's not a great fantasy season, but just to give a little bit of, it's my side of the story here. I started him early in the year, and then I ended up trading for Melvin Gordon, and I had Jay, so he was really a bench player. So taking Matt Forte with that kind of production as a bench player in my fantasy team, I think that's pretty good.
Yeah, well, let's see. What round did you take him in? That's the question.
4 or 5?
I don't know. I don't know.
Obviously it wasn't a great.
What was your team
choice,
name
but
last year?
Wolfpack?
With Gangela?
With Gangela, that's what it was.
Round 6, you got him, man. I mean, that's not a terrible round 6 pick, but yeah, I don't know. I still think Forte could have some value this year too, to be honest, while I'm bashing him on that. So the agenda real quick before we go, it's top 10 quarterbacks, top 10 tight ends, sleepers, busts, mixed in with some bold predictions when they are relevant. So let's start with quarterbacks. Number 1 quarterback for me, and I think this is the clearest in all the rankings in fantasy, I think it's Aaron Rodgers. And I have a bold prediction. I think that Aaron Rodgers is going to throw over 50 touchdowns this year. Mark it on your calendar. He's going to throw them. You're going to score a ton of points if you draft him. A lot of people say don't draft quarterbacks early. The only quarterback I think you should draft early is Aaron Rodgers. And I would do it in the 3rd round. Mitchell, your thoughts?
I'll bet you that he doesn't throw 50.
I don't know if that's a bet I want to make. He's never thrown over 50. This is a bold prediction. I don't think that's bet worthy.
Right.
So you want to give me 45?
Just wanted to see how confident you were.
Don't be a wuss.
That's also my...
you want to give me 45?
45, I'll do it.
All right.
It's 3 touchdowns a week, basically.
Aaron Rodgers, 45 touchdowns. So mark that down.
But by the way, he also is my number 1 ranked quarterback as well. I agree that he is probably going to have a great year. That's all I got to say about it, really. Clear cut for me.
Jeff?
I mean, it's hard to really disagree, but I'm going to. I have Tom Terrific, the GOAT, the sexiest man alive, the number 1 quarterback in the 2017 NFL season.
I think you need to explain. I have him very close, but I think there's a clear tier step between Rodgers and everybody else.
Oh, look, I mean, you're arguing, Jordan, LeBron, best ever. You're arguing Brady, Rodgers, best, quarterback right now. Maybe, arguably 2 of the best 5 quarterbacks ever. Something. That's a different debate. You got to go on a gut, and I have a feeling that Brady is going to set the world on fire again this year at 40 years old. He wants that 6th ring really bad. He's got, I think, having Brandon Cooks to stretch the field if Gronk can stay healthy, which we'll talk about that later. I really think that Brady is going to throw for 4,500 yards and 40-something touchdowns.
Yeah, I mean, I think that Brady's going to be great too. I think this is a good part to transition into my 2nd ranking here, Tom Brady.
Well, I guess this will work. Go ahead. Yeah. Tom Brady's number 2 for you?
Yeah, I see him as number 2. I just think that Aaron Rodgers has a step ahead of him, but I don't think it's like a significant step. I just think that in my eyes, when I watch both of them play, Aaron Rodgers is more talented. He's got more years in his legs.
Well, and from a fantasy perspective, the one thing that I was debating back and forth, and I obviously am a homer, so I took Brady because I'm a diehard Michigan guy and I root for Brady. But the one thing that Aaron Rodgers does have a little bit more and has had throughout his career than Brady, and maybe not a little bit, maybe a lot, he can run. So he's going to get some rushing touchdowns too. Maybe not, a ton, but he's going to throw in a whole bunch of touchdowns, and he's going to run in probably 3, 4, 5 throughout the year too.
I think that's a debatable thing, though. The 1 and 2 ranking at quarterback, I think it could go either way.
You're not losing either way.
Yeah. I don't. If you look at the numbers, and maybe they're not as far off as I think, but so if you're looking at consistency rankings, right, and consistency stats, Aaron Rodgers, 75% of the games last year was a top 12 quarterback. The big number for me, though, is 62% of the time last year he was was a top 5 quarterback. Brady's numbers are 66 for a top 12, 50 for a top 5. But Brady finished in the top 25 rankings, so past 25 rankings in 8.33, and Rodgers never finished outside of the top 25 last year.
Does that take into account the fact that Brady was hosed by the NFL for the first 4 games?
This is just with the weeks that they played.
Okay.
And over the last 3 years, those numbers are similar too. Over the last 3 years, Rodgers has had 68% of the time in the top 12. The only one who has had a higher percentage when they play is Andrew Luck, and that's fantasy points. Rodgers is a special player. I really hope he falls to me in my league of record.
I think one thing you see with Tom Brady, though, is his numbers stay consistently good, and especially when it comes down to like passer rating and things like that. He's always way above on touchdowns than he is interceptions. But you can always see his touchdowns and his yardage go up when they start building around him. You know what I mean? Like that first year when he gets a new guy, he always does great. So I think this is probably going to be one of his up years, just because I think he has the most weapons that he's had before Gronk.
Since Randy Moss.
Yeah, since Randy, pretty much.
Number 2 for me is Tom Brady. I think he's gonna have a good year. I would draft him. I don't know where I would draft him. I'm still kind of debating that. I wouldn't draft him where I'd draft Rodgers, but Brady's my number 2. Jeff, is your number 2 Aaron Rodgers?
Yeah, I'm not clinically insane. He is number 2.
Yeah,
and you could make him number 1. Like I said, it doesn't really matter. 1A, 1B, who cares?
Coming in at number 3 for me is Mr. Consistency himself for fantasy football. Drew Brees is my number 3 quarterback. The guy gets to almost 1,000 yards every year, and I think he's one of the safest picks at quarterback. He's going to get you your points. He's being underdrafted, in my opinion. I honestly don't understand why there's so much hate on Drew Brees this year. I think he's being drafted at about 10 picks back from Brady, and I don't have a big gap between them. You can get him at around the 35th pick of your draft. Your thoughts on, or who's your number 3, I guess?
My number 3 is Drew Brees. I'm the same guy. But I think that there's a significant leap that comes in between the second and third quarterback. Like two rounds worth of fantasy for me is why I see it. I think that Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady are very similar when it comes down to what they're going to produce for you. But I think Drew Brees takes a little bit of a step back, but he's still the top. You know what I mean? He's still a top 3 quarterback. I think that he's going to have a great year. And I think he's going to slowly start hitting that decline soon, but not right now. I think this is going to be.
Are you sure? I mean, Brady hasn't hit the decline, and Brees is only Brees is 38, Brady's 40. So maybe I guess soon would be. You probably think soon for Brady too, or
no? Brady's a freak. There's a difference. I don't think Drew Brees is a freak.
Brady is on some alternate universe. He's just. I mean, the dude's going to play. Warren Moon played till he was 44. Brady, I think, wants to beat that. I think that's his goal. I think he wants to play till he's 45, and there's nothing that says that he can't do it right now.
This is true. And I feel like that sucks for Jimmy Garoppolo as the backup because he's a good quarterback. But I guess maybe it's a good thing for him. He just doesn't have to do any work. Jeff, you're number 3.
Well, I went a little bit different route. Again, tomato. You can have them 3 or 4. I have Matt Ryan at number 3.
Oh. He's wearing a Matt Ryan jersey right now.
I'm also wearing a Matt Ryan jersey right now. They are my second favorite team behind the Lions, of course. I have a feeling, and this could go either way. I've heard people talk about having that Super Bowl hangover, and the Falcons might have a really bad year, and I'd be lying if I said it wasn't possible. But I also think that there might be something about them having a chip on their shoulder this year. Julio Jones is the best receiver in the NFL. He's got other good supporting cast around him. Devontae Freeman is a phenomenal catching running back. I think Matt Ryan has the best year of his career this year. I think they come out motivated. I think that they've got a goal to get back. I'm actually real excited to see. I think it's the Week 7 matchup against the Patriots again. Not that that's going to have nearly the significance, but...
You think Matt Ryan has a better year than last year?
So could you say you're thinking he's going to repeat MVP?
I don't know. I never really thought of it from the MVP perspective. But I think that he could possibly match or beat last year. I think he's going to have a real good 2017 campaign.
Oh, I disagree. I have Matt Ryan much further down, but I'll save that for suspense. I think they're going to, Kyle Shanahan's gone, and I think that's going to be a huge hit to their offense. I don't think it's going to ruin everyone. I just think that passing game might be a little more tempered down this year. And I am really a lot lower on Tevin Coleman this year. I think they'll run the ball. I just can't see Matt Ryan putting up almost 5,000 yards and around 40 touchdowns next year. I don't know. That seems a little too steep for me. He hasn't really done that over the course of his career too much. Mitchell, your thoughts on Ryan?
I love Ryan. I think he's going to have a great year too. I think he's pretty close with Brees in my ranking. I honestly believe they could flip-flop.
You want to slap at it?
Slap at what?
Brees scores more points than Ryan?
Well, no. I just said they could flip-flop.
And he has Breeze number 3.
I know.
For the record, I don't know if we're hopping to number 4 yet, but I do have Breeze at number 4.
Okay,
I mean, the dude throws for 5,000 yards almost every year.
Yeah, you gotta have him there. Number 4, I have Andrew Luck. Now, this could change if he misses a few games, but I think if he's on the pup, that's definitely changing. But if I know he's only missing a game or two, I think Andrew Luck's still the pick there. I think anybody after Andrew Luck is a significant drop down in the value they're going to return. Andrew Luck has been doing it time and time again. So I'm starting to give the respect to Andrew Luck I think he deserves in fantasy. So, Mitchell? I
have Matt Ryan at number 4. I don't think he's going to match the numbers that he put up last year, but I think that I didn't mean to say exceed the numbers that he was going to put up last year, but I do believe he could come close to matching them. So I don't think he will, but I think it'll come close. So I'm pretty high on him. I just think that Breeze will have a better year overall. And I officially, I don't think, unless you're getting these guys in the 5th, 6th round, I don't think anyone, besides maybe Rodgers and Brady is worth a pick. Before that, I think you kind of should wait, but I don't know. Who was your you had Breeze as well? So I guess we can move on to 5 because we talked about Breeze already. 5. This one might come to a surprise. I have Kirk Cousins.
Are you the GM now?
Yeah, am I the GM of the Redskins? I have Kirk Cousins there. I think he contract year again. I feel like he likes playing on a contract year. He's making a ton of money. And that offense, I think, just got better, even with Deshaun Jackson and Pierre Garçon leaving. If Reed can stay healthy, I think Pryor is going to be really good. You guys know that if you listen to the last podcast. And I don't know. I think the sky's the limit for him. Mitchell?
My number 5 is going to be Andrew Luck. I like Kirk Cousins. I just don't like him as much as you apparently this year. But I'm going with Andrew Luck. Like you said, he's consistent. We've already talked about him a little bit. I think he's going to have a good fantasy year. I don't think it's going to be great, but he's going to end up top 5, I think, just out of doing nothing. I don't like Andrew Luck that much. Just looks dumb.
Just looks dumb. That's great advice coming here from Mitchell.
Andrew Luck will never be a guest on our show, apparently.
Andrew, if you're listening, I love you, and you're on my Dynasty League, so don't mess that up.
No offense. I just think you look a little dumb. That's it.
Well, it's certainly not because of the beard, because he's got a dumb beard, too.
I do have a dumb beard, too. You're
calling an Ivy League graduate dumb right now.
He didn't go to an Ivy League school.
I thought he did.
No, I'm not.
Stanford.
Oh, I thought Stanford was Ivy League.
Pac-12.
Either way, I'm not calling him dumb. I'm saying he looks dumb. I think he's very intelligent and a great football player.
Maybe we should
He just looks kind of dumb.
Jeff, who was your number 5?
Well, I got something different. First of all, for the sake of having a good time and the sake of argument, I think you're freaking crazy on Kirk Cousins. If you're relying on him throwing to Terrell Pryor, good luck. I know it semi-worked for a little bit in Cleveland, but what else do they have? Jordan Reed's hurt every 12 minutes. I'm not on Kirk Cousins bandwagon at all.
Let me drop some knowledge on you.
Drop some knowledge on me.
You know who the 5th ranked quarterback was last year?
Kirk Cousins.
4,917 yards, 25 touchdowns, 96 rushing yards, and 4 touchdowns.
Are we playing in 2016 or are we playing in 2017?
We're playing in 2017, but are you telling me you don't think Terrell Pryor is any better or just as good as Deshaun Jackson?
I am.
Have you seen the catches this guy makes?
I'm telling that. Hey, I have to take a stance and I have to go by something. If we agree on everything, this is no fun.
That's true. Okay.
So you can call me crazy on some of mine because trust me, it's going to happen. It might happen right now.
For the record, I don't think it's fair to say that Terrell Pryor is already on Deshaun Jackson's level because Deshaun Jackson has embarrassed defenders to win a game. And Terrell Pryor.
He's also dropped the ball before the end zone and cost his team a touchdown and me fantasy points to win a game. But I'm not
one
bitter about that. All right, so my number 5.
Also, before you get there,
I've been stopped twice.
Let me tell you, 2015. Okay, maybe it's not 2016, but if it was 2015, Kirk Cousins was the 7th ranked quarterback with 4,166 yards, not 29 touchdowns, and 5 rushing touchdowns.
I just want to point something out. You guys are taking advice from a guy who has a pink mouse. The mouse on his computer is pink.
I got it for free in Korea.
Yeah.
The language is on the mouse, okay?
That says made in China.
Pink mouse. He's also going to have a new podcast next week for the Lingerie Football League in case you guys want to listen.
I'm also playing in it if you want to watch. No, okay, Jeff. Finally, let's get your number 5.
So my number 5 is Big Ben. Big Ben's got Antonio Brown, who, if he's not the best receiver, I know I said Julio earlier, but they're 1A and 1B probably. They're definitely the top 2 or 3. So Antonio Brown's there. Martavis Bryant, if the NFL and Roger Goodell ever gets off their ass, is going to be unsuspended and play. Jesse James did okay, filling in that Heath Miller tight end role last year. Maybe they get some production from elsewhere. Obviously, Le'Veon Bell is an absolute monster. My question and concern is the health of Roethlisberger. He is a bit fragile and does seem to get hurt. But we're assuming these stats moving through the year as if they're healthy. So I'm going to take Big Ben at number 5. Big year for the Steelers.
How many games did he play last year?
I don't know. At least 12, I'd say.
Yeah,
13.
he played most.
Yeah. I think he only missed a few.
My concern with Big Ben is, I'm going to talk about Big Ben later, a little bit of a teaser. My concern with Big Ben is he's really good at home, but he's terrible when he plays on the road.
They went to Kansas City and won a playoff game.
I know, but if you look at his fantasy stats from being at home and on the road, there's a couple quarterbacks. I can't remember the name of the other one, but he's much worse on the at home or on the road than he is at home. Let me see if I can bring up his split stats.
Hey, that's 8 good games a year. He's going to have more points than any Jets quarterback in the first 4 weeks.
So
and that's for the Jets for the whole year.
Big Ben played. Fun fact: since 2004. He's only played 3 full seasons, but last year he played 14 games, and he threw for 3,819 yards and 29 touchdowns with 13 interceptions.
So if he plays in 3 more games, he's probably pushing 5,000 yards.
Yep. Yeah.
No, that's maybe a bit aggressive.
4,000.
That's a bit aggressive. Let's say 300 yards a game. That's 900 yards, 4,700 yards. He's between 4,500 and 5,000 yards. That's a damn good season.
Yeah, I think if he can stay healthy and play every game, for sure he's going to be.
And now he gets Martavis Bryant back, so as long as he stops smoking weed.
Yeah, maybe. But I feel another Josh Gordon come. Bold prediction.
As long as
Martavis Bryant follows the same path as Josh Gordon.
I don't know if that's bold.
Can we keep Bryant and Bell out of the same car? Is that possible?
Yeah,
if you're a Steelers fan,
please no going to Philadelphia. We do not need you hanging out with Blunt.
So here's my thing. I don't hate Ben, but I feel like you're gonna need a streamer because this is last year, and I'll look at the other years after this to see if it kind of compares. His home stats are 1,900 passing yards and 20 touchdowns, 5 picks. His away stats are 1,900 passing yards, 9 touchdowns, and 8 picks. I don't know what it is about Big Ben playing on the road, but I've just noticed a kind of a trend.
Well, most quarterbacks away from home, most teams in general away from home are not as good, right?
Right, and here are his numbers from 2015. 2,000 yards at home, 16 touchdowns, 17 picks. Away, it's 1,800, 5 touchdowns, 9 picks. It's weird that he's so much worse on the road. I don't know. I mean, I don't think he's a terrible. I have him out of my top 10, and I'm just going to say it. I have him as one of my busts. I think he's overdrafted. I'm staying away from Big Ben. Unless I only have him for the home games.
Well, you and I are going to have some good conversations throughout the year then, because I'll tell you one of the people that doesn't make my list. One of is Kirk Cousins.
Interesting.
All right. Well, let's. Did you tell your 5?
Yeah, I think I did. It was Andrew Luck.
Do you want to move on to 6 here?
Yeah, we can move on to 6. That's cool.
You want to drop your 6 on us?
Number 6, I have Russell Wilson. Dangerous Wilson is who I have at number 6. I think that, he's been pretty consistent throughout the years, and I think that this will be one of the years that he kind of has a little bump in production. I think that he'll be doing all right there, get a little more familiar with the people that he's playing with on offense, and basically I think he's going to be a top 6 quarterback. What do you think?
I disagree.
I disagree as well. I have him in my top 10, but 6 is there are a couple people that I like more. I believe their offensive line isn't very good either.
Did
That's
they
what
pull a guy from UPS or something like that last year to play left tackle?
I'm not sure, but
No.
I'm looking at some offensive line ranks from Pro Football Focus right now, so we're gonna see. They're apparently the go-to for this kind of a thing.
Did Seattle sign any wide receivers in the
Seattle
offseason?
has the 32nd ranked offensive line, and I think that Russell is already slightly injury prone. I worry about that run game. I worry about that offense a little. I do think Doug Baldwin will have a good year, but I think Russ is good. I just don't know if I would rank him at 6.
I think he's borderline great considering the production that he's had with the talent that he's had around him. Obviously, their big thing there is defense, and that has nothing to do with the offense, or almost nothing. I like Russell Wilson a ton. I think he's a phenomenal quarterback, good guy, all that kind of stuff. But we're talking about fantasy football games here, and I don't want him as my quarterback. I just don't think he can put up the numbers that I would really want. Especially, I don't think he's going to be a top 6.
Right, and I think the value between these quarterbacks at these ranks, at least for me in my mind, it's like there are some people that are ranked way lower that are probably going to go undrafted. I think will have just as good years. Who is your number 6, Jeff?
You brought up something earlier that I think is really important. Contract year. You know who's in a contract year?
Isn't Drew Brees is, but we already talked about him.
He's like 38. It's not Drew Brees.
Matt Stafford.
One Matthew Stafford is in a contract year, and he is going to get a big payday if he plays well this year. I'm going to take Matt Stafford. I think he's going to have a big, big year, despite the fact that we don't have a true number 1 wide receiver, and despite the fact that I despise Eric Ebron. Matt Stafford's somehow going to figure out a way to do it. Dude's just a stud. He's a monster.
I think he is good. I feel like he's not putting up the production that you want from a fantasy quarterback. I have him in my top 10, which is a lot different than his ranking on most sites. So to give you an example, he's 14th ranked quarterback in the Fantasy Pros, and that's all these rankings coming together from all the websites. So you're pretty bullish on him. I like Stafford. For me, my number 6, I think Marcus Mariota is going to have a great year. He's my number 6. He can run. He's got a lot more weapons to throw to, and they have a great line and a great run game. I think they actually have one of the top 5 offensive lines in the league right now. Let's take a look. They're number 4, according to Pro Football Focus. I like Marcus Mariota. I think he's only going to go up from here. My number 7 is Matt Ryan. That is where I ended up having Matt Ryan, so I'll allow someone else to reveal their 7.
My 7 is Ben Roethlisberger, so I'll allow Jeff to reveal his 7.
That's it. You don't want to
Sounds
say
like
anything
Game of
about Big
Thrones.
Ben?
Well, I mean, I feel kind of the same way. I think that Big Ben's going to be good. As I mentioned, I think that he'll have a good year if he stays on the field, which he has not done through the majority of his career. But other than that, I don't really think there's much to dive into about it. He has great weapons around him, and I think it's just going to be a great quarterback.
Yeah, I agree. My number 7, I actually went with Derek Carr. He just got paid, so I hope that doesn't kill his motivation. But he's got a receiving core around him. I think that they're going to really try to put something special together for the city of Oakland before they leave in a couple years. I think Derek Carr lights it up this year, and he kind of has his. I mean, he kind of had his coming out. I'm a legit quarterback season already, but I think he takes the next step forward.
Yeah, I like Derek Carr. I'm leaving him off my top 10, though. I want to see him do it one more year before I'm sold on him. I like the offense. I think Marshawn Lynch will help him. I don't know. Maybe I'm giving him that because he has a Carr last name, and I keep thinking of his brother and how bad his brother was. Just like my brother is a fantasy football with both my brothers. Mitchell, your thoughts on Derek Carr?
I like Derek Carr. I don't have him on my top 10. I really struggled with the numbers 7 through 10. I had a lot of debate going on in my own head, and I still do. So I kind of cheated for one of these rankings. We'll get to that. But I think he's going to be good. I really do. And I hope he's good. I'm rooting for him, pretty much is what I'm saying. But I don't think he'll be able to repeat what he was on pace to do last year before his injury.
What do you get? He got hurt in what, week 16 or 15?
Was it 14?
I think it was 14.
Okay. I mean,
They had to go like 2 weeks with Matt McGloin, and that was just
that's
disaster.
the end of the fantasy season for the
It was
most
McGloin,
part.
right?
Well, actually, that's the playoffs.
Yeah, McGloin, and then actually Connor Cook started the playoff game just
Connor
with no experience.
What a disaster that playoff game was.
Did you say you're number 7, Joe?
Yeah, Derek Carr.
Derek Carr. All right, so number 8, that's where I have Russell Wilson. I expressed my concerns over him. That line is bad, but I still think he's worthy of a top 10 just because of the potential for running. Mitchell, you're number 8?
My number 8 is Marcus Mariota. I think he's going to be levelly the same productive, maybe a little bit more this year if he can stay on the field as well. Kind of the same deal with Ben Roethlisberger.
Jeff?
At number 8, I got old Scam Newton.
Scam Newton.
Old Scam Newton. I'm really hoping that their former number 1 pick, Kelvin Benjamin, who has all of a sudden grown man boobs and turned into a right tackle, somehow figures out how to get in shape and becomes the number 1 wide receiver again. Obviously, Greg Olson's a stud. Cam Newton I didn't even want to like him coming out. I just was not a Cam Newton guy, but he is a really good quarterback, great leader for that team, puts up numbers. So I think he's a top 10 fantasy quarterback.
Especially fantasy numbers with the goal line.
Yeah.
I don't actually have him ranked here, but I would like to bring up one of my bold predictions. I think that Cam has the potential for a bounce back year and finishing in the top 3 quarterbacks.
Top 3, but you don't have him ranked in your top 10.
I have him ranked in my top 10. I just don't have him ranked at this position.
Whew.
So I'm not always going to have to reflect my rankings. This is just something, I thought, this is definitely can happen.
Right. I think that's bold because I don't have Cam in my top 10. I think Cam's overrated. I think he's going to run less this year. And if you don't get that running potential from him, he's not a good quarterback. Cam is not a good quarterback.
I mean, when he had his good year, right, he had really good stats, obviously. But with that being said, I think he's going to run. If he doesn't run, then that just means that the Panthers don't know how to coach a football team. But even with that being said, he's throwing for almost 4,000 yards every season, no matter what. He's always going to be above 3,500 is where it's looking like from what I can see. Well, okay, let's see. Last year, he still threw for 4,000 yards and 21 touchdowns. And he threw a lot more interceptions than normal. But all he has to do is get past that Super Bowl hangover, get past all that negative energy, and he's going to have another great season. He didn't have a lot of weapons when he, threw 19 touchdowns, 4,000 yards for his MVP, and he also ran for a bunch. So.
Yeah, he really ran for 10 touchdowns that year, and that's the thing is that I think because you got to protect him now. I think his passing numbers are going to go up because of McCaffrey, and they added a wide receiver, Curtis Samuel, and then I think Benjamin will get his shit together. I see an increase in passing yards, but ultimately a downcrease in fantasy production because the running is not going to be there. He said he's going to play like he is, but I just feel like if he keeps playing like that, he's going to get hurt.
Well, regardless, he's still going to have, and that was completely the wrong stats, by the way. It was actually 4,000 yards and 35
Did you just give us fake news?
Touchdowns. I give you fake news, guys. Fake news alert.
Fake news alert. Mitchell is CNN and Fox News combined.
So instead of what I said was 4,000 yards and 19 touchdowns, that was actually his second year in the league. What I meant to say was 4,000 yards and 35 touchdowns and 10 interceptions.
And that's where he had 10 rushing touchdowns.
And that year he had 10 rushing touchdowns. But even this last year, he still had 5 rushing touchdowns. And
right. Which I just
are worth more in standard ranking
they
leagues,
are.
Which is what our podcast is about.
They are. But have you put Kirk on your list yet?
Is he before Cam, what you're asking?
Yeah, because Kirk had 5 rushing touchdowns last year, 4 the year before, and he can actually throw the football.
Okay. So, I think so can Cam. But, yes, Kirk is on my list.
Clearly.
We'll get to that.
I just can't stand Cam Newton. I don't know.
I feel like you almost cried right there over Kirk Cousins. Do you need a tissue? Do you need a minute?
No.
We can pause the podcast.
I'm fine.
You're
fine.
Okay. He's okay.
Did you drop your number 8, Jeff?
I did. Cam Newton. I started this mess.
Oh, yeah. I'm going to drop my number 9 here, and this one is one of my sleepers as well. Phillip Rivers is my number 9. I think Keenan Allen's going to play at least 8 games, I'm hoping. I just think, Hunter Henry's there now. Good run game. Defense is getting better. The stars are aligning for that team, and Phillip Rivers, he's always been a good quarterback. I think this is the year where he's going to finish in the top 10 for fantasy purposes. He's done it before. I don't think he did last year, but it's not unusual for him to rank in the top 10. He's always undervalued because of his age. You can probably get him in any draft that you want. Mitchell, what are your thoughts on Phil Rivers?
I mean, I like Phillip Rivers. I don't have him ranked in my top 10.
And he's got moxie.
No, he does not. I do not like anything about the way that Phillip Rivers plays football. He's a very weird man. He refuses to swear, but he also talks a lot of smack, so it gets really awkward if you ever actually listen to him mic'd up. But besides the point, fantasy-wise, yeah, he's pretty consistent. He's always one of those, 12 through 8 kind of quarterbacks when it comes to the position rankings, and I think he'll be all right, but it's not who I had there.
He's been in the top 10 the last 2 years. I think that continues. I think it's been more than the last 2 years. But what do you think about Phil?
I kind of miss Phil and Jay Cutler going back and forth at each other from the field and the sideline when the old Broncos, San Diego Chargers days, RIP San Diego. We'll never have a team again. Yeah, and I don't have him in my top 10. He's always up there. He's one of those guys where it doesn't seem to matter how many weapons he has. He puts up numbers. I'm sure he'll be a top 15, but my list only goes to 10. He's not there.
Number 9 for you, Mitchell.
Number 9 for me is Kirk Cousins. So I think that Kirk Cousins is going to be great. I think that obviously gives over who my number 10 is going to be, but with our last conversation, don't look so confused. I think he's going to have a great year. I think he's got some good weapons, a lot of young talent around him, and everybody's quick on that team. That's the thing. They don't have that big, bulky receiver, so I think they're going to have a lot of big plays. Crowder, Doxson, and Pryor, they can all stretch the field. So I think it's going to be an interesting year for Kirk. I do think that he has a lot of potential to go past this ranking for the record, and I love Michigan State, so I'm rooting for him 100%.
Ooh.
But I'm going to rank him at 9.
Jeff.
I have Mariota at number 9. I've been debating this for about 3 hours now since I started looking at fantasy things for 2017. I actually could see Mariota being higher. I don't see him probably or likely being a whole lot lower, barring injury. Definitely going to be a top 10 guy. I've got Mariota number 9.
My number 10, Stafford. I got Matty Ice as, well, that's actually Matt Ryan.
Yeah.
The real Matty Ice as my number 10. I think Stafford is going to have a good year. I got him at my 10. I was debating him and one of my sleepers, which you'll find out soon. Matt Stafford. What about you?
I love Matt Stafford. He's definitely ranked as my number 11. But unfortunately, he didn't make the 10 cut, and I felt really, really bad about doing it. And then I realized, I was like, wait, nobody's watching you make this list and not including the Lions player. Okay, you can do this.
Yeah, it's not like this is recorded or anything. It's
Right.
not like we can't reference
It's not
this
like
ever.
this is going to be all over the internet.
But, I felt bad about myself. I was like, how do you not put your quarterback in the top 10?
We got a nice drop for the show now.
I would like to say, though, I believe that Matt Stafford is definitely top 10 NFL quarterback. I just think that he's going to get outscored in fantasy by Cam Newton due to rushing touchdowns.
So Cam is your number 10?
So Cam is my number 10.
So wait, I have Stafford at number 6. Does that make me the biggest Lions homer?
I think it does.
Yes!
I think 6 is
I win some. I
definitely
should get a trophy for that. They have Lions coasters in this house, by the way. and
Congratulations!
I'm taking one of these home because I'm the biggest Lions homer.
You've won no Super Bowls.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah,
And I was feeling good about myself until you ruined it.
We made a joke about Lions homers, but you don't shit on the team, man.
Yeah,
That's
you're an
gonna
emotional
depress all of us.
cockblock.
Who's your number 10, Jeff?
I have Russell Wilson at number 10.
Oh, fair enough. So I think all we have time left for is to talk about some sleepers and busts and what we're gonna have to move
Well, can I say something real fast?
tight ends
Yeah,
to
let's
next
flow
week.
through the tight ends real quick.
We can
'Cause
go
we
through
took
them.
too much time, so let's just kind of do everybody says our thing real quick before we break down any of it, and then we can say a couple key points, make it
Some
run
of them
fast.
are going to be obvious.
All right,
anyway.
well let's do our sleepers and our busts for the quarterbacks first.
Okay, fair enough.
Well, real fast, I want to note that I did not have Andrew Luck in my top 10.
Oh, I didn't even
That's
notice
my
that.
somewhat bold prediction. The Colts are going to be horrible. Andrew Luck may or may not even play. Who knows if he's going to be healthy. They did nothing to help him out offensively. Big time down.
I think
Hugely
That
down
is the
on
most
Andrew Luck.
ludicrous
Huge.
thing that has ever been done on this podcast. Andrew Luck
You are welcome.
should not.
I bring ratings.
Andrew Luck should not be in your top 10. He was
He's
he's been the most consistent quarterback for the last 3 years on being a top 12 fantasy quarterback.
I didn't say lame-ass weak prediction. I said bold prediction.
What do you think? You gotta back me up on
I
that.
back him up. I mean, if he doesn't crack the top 10, I think that's a mistake. I think you're undervaluing him. I mean,
If he doesn't, you guys are both buying me an NFL jersey.
he could have what Colts fans will consider a flop season. Like, oh my God, Andrew Luck sucks. Still gonna finish in the top.
All right, Mitchell, my question to you then, looking at what me and Jeff has, is what's more likely? Aaron Rodgers reaching 50 touchdowns this season or Andrew Luck not breaking the top 10 of fantasy, assuming Andrew Luck plays a minimum of 14 games?
Then definitely Aaron Rodgers is more unlikely.
More unlikely?
Yeah. So, I mean, wait, what was the Andrew Luck one?
Andrew Luck plays at least 14 games, cracks the top 10 fantasy points.
Yeah, if he plays 14 games, he's 100% going to be in the top 10. No doubt.
I agree. I think that's more likely too. But
I'm the only Wigella brother not afraid to go out on
So-
a limb.
There was one thing I did notice. There's someone that we all left off, who's ranked number 9 on Pro Fantasy Pros, and that's Jameis Winston. No one has put him in their top 10, and I think he was the only one that we haven't really put in there that usually is in those type of rankings. I think Jameis is gonna have a good year. I just like the other guys better. I don't know. What do you guys think?
I don't like Jameis nearly as much. There's a guy that's not even in the top 20 in the list that I'm looking at right now that's going to be number 11 and maybe higher. How has everybody forgotten about Eli Manning?
I hate Eli this year.
Odell Beckham, Brandon Marshall. I don't know how hurt Sterling Shepard is. I haven't heard anything on that. Eli Manning is going to have a really good year. They still don't have much of a running game, but that's why he's just going to throw the ball all the time.
All right, so check it
And
out.
he's never hurt.
This is the same thing I say about Eli Manning every single year, just to get my thing out of the way. I don't like Eli Manning this year. Doesn't matter what year it is. I just don't like Eli Manning.
For
I will
me,
never
it's-
root for him, and you should not either.
So there's my sleeper. Eli, I have two, but that's my first one, Eli Manning.
For me, with Eli, it's like love-hate because I love the Giants. I like Eli. I just like every time I draft him, he burns me. You know, it's a fantasy hangover for me. Every time I start him, he makes me lose money in games, and it's just like, come on, Eli, get it together. One time I needed him to get like 200 yards, and I was going to win on FanDuel. It was like $500, and he couldn't get it done. And I was like,
I just don't. I think he's so inconsistent, and he's always been a product of the system.
I got him in the top 15. He's ranked 18 online.
I like
All
his
right,
ranking.
Okay, moving forward.
Sleepers. I have 2 sleepers. I already mentioned Phillip Rivers. I have 2 more. I think Tyrod Taylor is undervalued. He's very consistent in fantasy. He's going to be running a lot, especially with Anquan Bolden there. And then someone else that I feel like people always forget about, and just because he's a dinosaur, Carson Palmer. I think Carson Palmer, if he's healthy, they relax his arm this summer, he's a good quarterback. I think he could finish top 15. I wouldn't put him in the top 10, but if you're in a deeper league, I think he's just someone to target, or a 2-quarterback league, or a super flex league, whatever your choice is. Mitchell, what are your sleepers?
When I'm looking at my sleepers here, I'm pretty much going to focus mostly on Deshaun Watson. I'm a big believer in Deshaun Watson. Deshaun Watson. I said it really fast, not Chum Watson. It's Deshaun Watson.
Who's Chum Watson?
So, Deshaun Watson from the Houston Texans. I believe that he's going to take the starting job by week 1. I don't think that's something you need to worry about. I think Tom Savage, just go ahead and say it out loud a couple times and then tell me if you believe that he's going to start the first regular season game. Tom Savage. No, he's not going to. I think he's going to be good. I think he's got the winners. He's just got the winner's trait to him, man. I mean, he led to 2 national titles out of Clemson. I think he's kind of just – sometimes you just know they got that it factor. And for some reason, That's what I'm getting from him. So that's my sleeper.
You've heard it here from the Fantasy Bros. Draft Sean Watson, not Tom Savage.
Sean Watson, not Bomb Savage, okay?
Jeff?
So my other one is going to fall into the sleeper category and the breakout category. I think this guy's poised for a big year. Carson Wentz. Philly has went out and got Torrey Smith to be a deep threat. I know he's not the Torrey Smith of 5 years ago, but he can still run routes. They already have Jordan Matthews. Nelson Aguilar is reportedly looking really good in camp. Plus, they went out and got a guy named Alshon Jeffrey, who is still, he's not that far into the league. He's been a pretty good receiver. They've got a decent running back core. I think Carson Wentz puts together a hell of a season. I think that next year when we're having this conversation, he could potentially be a top 10 QB.
Yeah, I agree with the Carson Wentz definitely improving this year. I don't know about the top 10 thing, but definitely up there, definitely top 15.
Fair.
And I don't know. I mean, I'm excited about it. I think that they have a good team. And for some reason, I started liking the Eagles when they got Mike Vick. I hope no Pete out there is going to get offended by that. But just the pure showmanship of Mike Vick is what I like. But
Mitchell was just petting the dog. Don't worry, he's an animal lover.
Little bit of an Eagles fan on the side. Kind of one of those teams I'm like, yeah, go. Along with the Falcons. I like Birds and Lions. All right, there it is.
Carson Wentz is going to be good.
Yeah, I think he's going to be all right. Definitely. Dylan, did you have any other sleepers?
Carson Wentz, so I want to mention, I think he's going to regress. I don't think that Carson Wentz is I think he's going to have a sophomore slump. I think he really teared it off towards the end of the season. I know he has more weapons. I don't know. I don't believe in Carson Wentz. I got him outside of my top 20 quarterbacks in my rankings. So, I don't know. But I don't have more sleepers, but I have some busts. I think I kind of talked about them both. I think the two busts for me are from where they're being drafted is Ben Roethlisberger is being drafted too high for me, and Cam Newton is being drafted too high for me. I just, like I said, Cam is not going to get those rushing points this year. Ben can't play on the road. He's got great weapons. Bell's back, and it's like, run the rock, throw to Antonio Brown every once in a while. You're solid. You're going to win games.
Cousins and Luck, those are my busts.
I don't think Cousins is going to bust, but more for my bust is going to be Dak Prescott and actually Carson Palmer.
I do think Dak goes through a sophomore slump.
I think Dak's going to decline, and I also think that Carson Palmer is going to prove to the league that he does not belong here this year, and they're going to have a young guy step up. So expect to see a little bit of Drew Stanton in your life coming soon.
Oh, man, Drew Stanton. If I had to pick a breakout, like someone that you wouldn't expect to have good games, now I don't think this guy is going to be someone you play every week, but I think because of the game script in San Francisco, I think you're going to be able to stream Brian Hoyer on occasion. Again, Kyle Shanahan is there. Their defense is so bad that they're going to be down. And when you're down, those garbage time points. I mean, you saw it. Blake Bortles had a great year in fantasy a couple years ago because of how bad that defense was. I hear he's shining in camp. He's got Pierre Garçon. I think they're going to be a dynamic garbage time duo.
I just don't agree. I'm against two teams this year that I think you should stay away from unless you get major value. If you get major value on any pick, you take it and take that risk. That's my opinion. I mean, it doesn't really work out for me, but I'm staying away from the 49ers and the Jets. I'm honestly leaning more towards Cleveland Browns players than I probably have in any other draft. And what I mean is Crowell and Corey Coleman. Not Kenny Britt. Corey Coleman. He will lead the team.
All right. Well, I think, like I said, I really think we should move the tight ends to next week, and that's what we're going to do. That'll be the last of the breaking down of players. Hopefully we'll have Jeff back if he can make it. Hopefully you had a good time on the show.
Thanks for having me. I definitely had a good time. It's always good to get together and have some fantasy football talk. I look forward to a little bit more of this throughout the year and to having a better fantasy team than you do.
Yeah, okay, we'll see about that.
This is my year.
Let us know what you guys think. Who's crazy? Who's not? Remember, subscribe on YouTube, The Fantasy Football Bros. Facebook, like our page, share that bitch, and invite your friends. Make sure that you find us on Podcast Addict, Apple Podcasts, and SoundCloud. We are under the Split Six Media. They are our producer. You should be able to find us by searching Fantasy Football Bros. This is the Fantasy Football Bros. We'll see you next week. Peace.